Hey, it's Hutch from Hutch High Perf, back on the car. Today, I don't have a whole lot of time. There's a couple little things I want to get done, and yeah, let's just jump right into it. All right, so I have got the green horn wire out of the harness. I just pulled it over here, and the old harness. This is the horn wire setup. So you basically had the one wire coming from C100, and then it went into the first connector, double connect, and then it went into the second one, and I have already depinned that one side. So I've got new connectors, and I think all I'll need to do, I'm just going to roughly cut enough. I got plenty of length on this. So I'm just going to cut off what I feel is a good length. Cut that right there. All right, that is my short side. So I can go ahead and pop one connector on, and then pop the connector back onto it, the plastic connector, and then I will do the same thing on the harness, but I'll have to actually get up in the car to see how much of that I need to cut to do the first one, and hopefully I can get both of these connected in and have them hold, because the connectors I have are for 12 gauge, and I'm not sure doubling it up how that's going to work. Oh, maybe we should look at this one just to see. See if I can get this. There's plenty of room to wiggle around on this, so you gotta kind of feel for that. There it is. All right, take that off. Oh, well, we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna see if I can't get them both connected into one connector. And if not, I'll do the one connector, and then I'll butt connect somewhere in line with it. It'll be the same thing. But all right, let me do my short one first. Get that done. These are, well, these labeled P56. These are 12 to 10 gauge. So I'm hoping because it'll go to 10, I can slip two 12s in there. So will that be enough? Yes, it will. Got it captured in the crimper. Put my wire in. Pop it out. There it is. So with the connector soldered in place, I'm going to put a little heat shrink on it. Remember those pieces I cut that I said will probably come in handy? Perfect size for this. Just enough to cover the crimp itself, and it's perfect. So with that done, now I can snap it right into its home. One side ready to go. Now it's got to get up in the car and do the other. Okay, let's get all the implements of destruction that I'm going to need up in here, as far as I can tell. Get this thing in order. All right, so I need about that much. That way I can tuck it around. Let's give it a little bit more. A little bit more can't hurt, right? Okay. We'll just strip off an end here. Just a wee bit more. There we go. Okay, and then now, this is going to be interesting. See how we do this. Let's do the same for this side. About that much. So let's let's look at one of these connectors here. So the gauge size for these are 10 to 12. So I hope you can see that. So if I put both of these together, will they wedge down into the same area? Ooh. All right, here goes nothing. How's that go in? Like that? See if I made a mess of this or not. Yeah, so that answer was no. That thing didn't hold together for nothing. It just it's too much. So plan B is we're going to have two connectors, one off of each of the horn, and then they're going to come together, and I'm going to put them together in one giant butt splice right here. And then they'll arc off in two different directions, do the exact same thing, but it'll be more secure. And I can use a size adequate for the two of these together, and then on the other side I can either strip more and then fold the wire back to make it thicker, and then that way it has something to grab onto. Yeah, it should be fine. So that's plan B. So let's cut this nonsense off the end and we'll start over. Yeah. That is much better. I like that. So now we just got to throw. I just double back the wire on this side just to make it a little bit thicker, since I had to use a thicker butt connector because I had two 12 gauge on the one side. So now put that right down in the right slot. There we go. Not bad. And I even remembered to put my heat shrink on before I did the butt. So, all right, so we just throw some heat on that, and that's actually 2 circuits done. So we've got the wiper motor, and then now the horns. This is exciting, isn't it? Now that that's cooled down, a little bit of Tessa tape. We'll start right off the joint here, and we'll just wrap it. Get good coverage around the heat shrink, just as a secondary hold. Not bad. So with the 2 horn wires, and then they'll just plug right into their respective spots. I also, what I did was I took one of these conduit clips. I bought like a whole box of them, and I drilled an extra hole into the horn bracket. There's a hole right here, but it was just too big. So I just picked a hole right next to it, and what I'm going to do is use this to clip down my harness right in this spot. So that will be my one holding spot for the harness, and then I'll have to figure out whether this will just lay in behind the battery or not. But let's tuck this, since those are done. Let's tuck that wiring just up in there. Let's get the battery in. All right, that's about centered up where it'll be. All right, oh good. It's going to tuck in very nicely right back there. And honestly, if that just lays in there, I could probably put like one more connection over here somewhere, maybe to secure this side of it. So what I'm going to do for my positive battery cable is, instead of just routing it across here where it would be just a big red cable and you'd it'd be obvious and you'd see it. I want to try to like tuck it around. So I'm going to go around the back of the battery here, or the front of the battery, depending on how you look at it. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to run it. I got this off of Amazon. It's a remote battery box. It's made for 1 in and 2 out. I'm going to have to modify this a bit to make it work. But this flat spot here on the inner fender well is a perfect spot for that. So I think I'm going to cut the slots necessary to put that in, and I'm going to have it right there. So what's going to happen is battery cable runs around to the back, runs in here. This is where the connection is going to be. Then I'm going to have the positive coming off of the alternator down and snake it around somehow, and then into here, and then the other positive would come out this way down and all the way to the starter down in there. So that is the plan. This makes it kind of serviceable too, because if I ever need to, for whatever reason, pull the starter, pull the engine, do whatever, I can disconnect it right here and then have that power wire disconnected. I can have the alternator disconnected right from here, and then just pull it with those wires and just take them and jam them in somewhere and pull it with those wires and that part of the harness just as part of the engine, and then not have to worry about having to lay on my back and snake under there and get that thing out from the starter. Because if you remember when I put the starter in, the bolts are on the inside. That's where the connections are against the block, very tight. So yes, I don't want to have to deal with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the starter and get the wires all connected up, and then I'm going to put the starter back on and then run it back this way, and then I'll know everything goes right there and we'll be good to go. And then for the power wires that go, there's a purple and 2 red with some fusible link on it. I am going to use this heavy duty connector. This is a 630 MetroPack connector kit. It can handle up to, I think it's at like 43 amps, almost 50 amps, which is way more than what I need to worry about with this. So for the 2 positive wires and the purple wire coming off, it's 3 connectors, so it's going to be perfect. So I got 2 red, 1 purple. They're all heading down to the starter, and that's going to work out great. So that way those wires can also be just disconnected and popped, and I'll have this connector like down in here somewhere, or maybe even like down on this frame. I don't know. I have to figure that out because there's other stuff that needs to go in place. So I don't know room-wise where this would go, but about that location. And that way I can just unclip this, and then again, that goes with the engine or the starter or whatever, and then the harness stays in the car, and I don't have to worry about getting on my back and crawling and unconnecting things. So yeah. So the bottom of this has all these different slots where it kind of fits into the fender well. I guess that keeps it from like jostling around. It keeps it sturdy. So I needed to make a template to be able to cut into the inner fender well, and all I did was use some heavy like construction type paper, and all I did was I cut a square in the center big enough to like fit in this area, and then when I put it in, I just started taping other pieces to it until I had all the slots that I needed. So didn't do a single measurement, didn't do anything more than just cut some slots big enough to like fit these little openings, and it would fit around it, but it was like way wide. It was like all kinds of stuff, and then you just come in with additional paper and you just tape it in place, and just tape your flat edges on where you need everything. So without even having to do any measurements, I can slip this thing in, and then it would snap into place, and it works. So like you can see, like little pieces like this, I had cut this at like a weird angle, so the gap was too big on this side, so I just cut a piece of paper out that had a straight edge on it, and then I taped that and made up that straight edge and just taped it down. And I just taped multiple pieces like that and never measured a single thing. I just kept taping stuff together until everything fit. And then now I've got myself a template. I can take this and lay it down in that fender, and I can mark all my slots and then cut them out, and it should, in theory, fit, right? I think I think that my template that I made for this thing has seen better days. I taped it down, and I used the holes to be able. Just drilled a bunch of holes in it to make the slot, and then I just put a file down there and just kept filing it out till I got right to the edge of it. But man, that thing got beat down. Anyway, I think I have got this right. Huh? Okay. All right, so maybe I got to work on the one end to get the thing to snap. But there it is. That's pretty much it. And I'll sit right there, and I'll run my positive battery cable to it, and then I will be able to run alternator down and also the positive out of here from the battery down to the starter. And this will give me a remote location. I can unhook everything from here, and then that goes with the engine. This stays with the car. I like it. I got to file that a little bit more. All right. Whew. Well, that's it for me. This is a quick one. Yeah, that's it for tonight. Work's been killing me, and I got more work to do, and I got house chores to do. So anyway, that's a life of having a side project. You work on it when you can. It's either money or time, one of those two. And sometimes I have a little of both. Anyway, that's it for this one. This is Hutch from Hutch High Perf. I appreciate you being here. Hope you're having a good one. Take it easy, guys. See you on the next one.